Hello, and welcome to another episode of The End of the Search. This one I call it, Can Prayer Has an Effect on Beingness? It's based on a question somebody asked, and the question is, does one bother doing a particular spiritual practice? Does one bother believing in a particular God of the various religions, practicing prayer, mantras, etc.? Or are these things like supplementations which are going to have little effect either way on how our beingness plays out? Is it pointless to pray for something? Genuinely interested? Thanks. Okay. I have to be very conscious how do I answer that question, because one thing I want to point out is these videos are not about judging or discrediting anyone's practice or process or anything like that. This is just basically an investigation of who I am. Okay? And if somebody is very attached to a particular belief system, well, if I say something that may challenge that, it could be taken as an offense, and that is not the case. These videos are about joining rather than separating. So whatever you practice or whatever your process may be is totally welcome. I mean, it's totally respected. I'm just simply going to share some pointers here according to how life unfolds for me. And I've been in the spiritual journey since 1989. So you can do the math. Okay? And finally, life led me to where I am right now, and I'm sharing my experience. If it serves you, wonderful. If it doesn't, or you feel that it doesn't, just discard it and find something that may serve whatever your particular needs may be. Now, according to this question, I have to answer in accordance to the investigation that life led me to do after many, many years of everything you can possibly think of: prayer, mantras, meditation, and such and such. Okay, so when the person asks here, does one bother doing particular spiritual practices or something? There's nothing wrong with that. The question that I would ask is, why are you doing those practices? What do you think you're going to get as a result of that? Because for the most part, what I've seen is that some people getting engaged in so many different practices, and they said, well, I want to become enlightened. I want to have a particular experience, again, enlightenment, awakening, or so. But do you know what enlightenment is like? Do you know what awakening is like? Because if you do not know what enlightenment is, or how does it feel, because you have not been enlightened, so to speak, how do you know you are enlightened how do you know you find what you were looking for? You see? So, people talk a lot about love. I want love. Oh, that's fine. But do you know what love is? I did a video on that, If you don't know what love is, how can you know you found it? You see? So there's nothing wrong with prayer or meditations or mantras. The question is, do you know what that is going to give you once you find it? You see? Because otherwise I may be doing all those practices in hopes that I will become something that I don't even know what that is. That's why Ramesh Balsekar used to get frustrated when he talked to his gurus back then, before he became Nisargadatta Maharaj, a translator, and became conscious of what we're pointing to here. He says, I would go to my guru and I would ask questions, and there's a point that they would get they get upset. And finally, the answer that they would give me, you know when you'll know. How do I know that I have achieved blah, blah, blah? Oh, don't worry, you will know when you know, because that is the way of saying, I don't know. You see? So once again, you can do prayer, you can do practices, which is wonderful, it's beautiful, but do you know what you're going to get as a consequence of that? If you don't know what you're going to experience, you see, then you're just doing them because maybe somebody told you you should do that, or because you believe that, you see. Now, when it comes to prayer, for example, is it pointless praying for something? Once again, I am not against any kind of practice or prayer or something, but in my investigation, what I found out is that what is true has to be consistent, has to be 100% always working, you know. It has to be absolute. And the thing with prayer, for example, is that regarding to what the person says here, praying for something, right? Because I'm going to address prayer a little later also. Let's say I'm praying for something. If I pray for something and it manifests always, then you can say that makes perfect sense. Okay, I'm going to pray for this because I know it's going to manifest. But in my experience, I don't know if this might be yours, I may pray for something, I would pray for something and it wouldn't happen. But here how the mind plays a trick. If out of 20,000 prayers, one came true, the mind says, you see, it works. But in reality, what if that came true is because that was supposed to happen that way? One thing that I've learned in my personal experience, or that thing that I've experienced, is that I have had some, you may call it mystical experiences. No big deal. No different than me telling you, I remember when I learned how to ride a bike at 13. Just an experience, right? So I have had, one or two those experiences, so to speak. But what I noticed is that they didn't happen because I did a particular practice. They happened spontaneously when I was not even expecting it. You see? So, okay, that's fine. The problem is that if I would have had those experiences and then I claim that because I had those experiences, I know better and I can lead others to those experiences. The truth is, I don't know. It just happened very spontaneously. Not as a consequence of or as a result of anything. You see? Now, at the beginning of my journey, I did a lot of those things because, I don't know, I felt that I wanted to feel better or whatever. I wanted to let go of all the suffering, and I thought that if I do those things, the suffering will go away. But I found out that it wasn't going away. I may feel good for a bit, but then the suffering will continue. Or whatever. So that's when I began to question if those things were true, if they really worked. And then when I came to the realization, not me, that's how life unfolded for me, okay? When the realization came that if I don't believe the thoughts, if I don't believe the content of the mind, the suffering ceases, you see? Then all of a sudden, all practices and everything kind of went away, because I realized that I didn't have to do anything in order to be free right now, in order to be happy right now. There's a book that I wrote, it's called Your Freedom. Well, that's what I was pointing to. The freedom that I am right now have always been there, but it was overshadowed by all the things that I thought I had to do. You see the trick here? So prayer, for example, if you ask me what prayer is not a petition for something, because that keeps reinforcing the belief in a separate identity, which I'm going to address a little bit later also on this video, because that's what these videos are about in the end. It's not about what you do or don't do. If you feel that meditation brings you peace and joy, by God, do it. If you feel that prayer brings you brings you joy, please do it. But you're doing it for the joy of it. You're not doing it because you think you're going to get something out of it. You see, it's just part of the joy of being, right? So, prayer to me is the equivalent of not believing my thoughts. When I believe the content of the mind, I am no longer in prayer. I am now in consequence of that belief. But when I don't believe the content of the mind, well, prayer would be like the communication, which again, the word communication is tricky because it implies two in communication, but I don't know what words to use. but it's the sense of being in communion, communion with my beingness. See, you're being right now. This is where these videos are pointing to. Being. Being doesn't need anything in order to be. You see? So when I remove the obstacles to beingness, meaning when I remove all the things that I think I have to do in order to become, in order to being, then I am always beingness, and to me that's prayer. So I'm always in prayer because I am being. Even while sometimes uncomfortable experiences could be taking place. I mean, uncomfortable feelings, which I don't even label them uncomfortable. I just see them as a different texture in the whole palette of textures. Some of them seems to be comfortable or pleasurable. Some of them seems to be uncomfortable or unpleasurable. But if I don't label them any, this is just again one of them, a collage of experiences, which is what makes up this seeming human experience. But if I don't try to refuse or reject certain experiences, again trying to pray in order so that they go away or that I get something else, then I'm at peace with what is. And again, to me that's prayer. So I'm in prayer all the time. But it's not an activity. You see, it's not something I do in order to get or to achieve or to find. It's just something, it's just life. I mean, life is a prayer, if I want to use it that way. Life itself, not the human experience. The human experience is the belief in separation, and that's when all these questions like the one you're asking comes here. Does it matter to believe in a particular God? It's not that there's anything wrong with that. It's that you're overlooking the fact that the God you are chasing or you're trying to believe in is you. You see? By trying to believe in something outside of you, you keep denying or overlooking what you truly are. You see? If you are already it, if you are already that, is there any need for you to do something in order to become that? You follow? What happens is that if you're trying to trap this with the mental, with the intellect, with the sense of identity, these words are not going to make any sense. Or they may make sense, but you will not be able to really appreciate the experience because you're trying to conceptualize this. That's what I said. I cannot give you any answers, and I am not going to give you an experience. But if you don't believe the content of the mind, what remains? And in that which remains, there's no practices or activities to do, because that already is. You see? This is why all we're doing is removing rather than getting into a particular experience. You are already that. You can use the word experience, but again, the word experience implies somebody experiencing something, but that's the limitation of language. Right now, if there's no identification with thoughts, with the content of the mind, right now, as we're here, right now, if there's no identification with anything, if you don't believe any thoughts, anything, what remains? Don't answer. If you answer, you went back to the mind. I'm just pointing to what remains. Now, that which remains, do you need to do any particular activity or practice or methodology or anything to be that which is what remains? No, because that already is. And you are that. You see why this is so obvious? It's so simple. But if you're trying to make it into a particular experience, I should feel in a particular way always, you see, then the question that I would ask is, who is the one saying I should feel in a particular way always? You see, we have to go back to prior to the thought itself. And you are that. When this is seen, not by anyone, but again, I don't know what language to use or what words to use, then all the questions fall away. They fall apart. You simply are. as life unfolds, with all its textures and again, feelings and sensations and experiences and perception. That's fine. It's part of the package. It's part of the play. But now you're no longer distracted by the play, meaning by the thoughts that are interpreting the play. You just know that you are the play. You're not the one in the play. If anything, you're the one in which the play seems to appear and disappear, like the 5th book of the series or the 4th book. I am, in which everything seems to appear and disappear. The word seems is also there. It's very important. So right now, do you need to do anything in order to be what you are right now? You need to pray. You need to do any particular, I don't know, any practice to be what you are right now? See, the answer is right here. You are the answer to no question. So technically you're not even the answer, you simply are. And the question is, are you ready to see the obviousness of this? But if you feel, no, but my life is going in this particular way, I want to change this, I'm going to pursue that, then this information, which is going straight to the core, is not going to get through. Because there's still an identification with a me that says, I have this problem, I want to do this, I need to do that, I want to see. That's why this is all overlooked. Because we believe that this is who I am, and now the mind suggests, or the thought will come up that says, if I don't pursue these things, if I don't go after what I want, I'm not going to be happy, or life is going to be boring. But these are thoughts. You see, these are all thoughts happening in what I am. And we're pointing to the fact that I am. And that I am is what is, even when thoughts of desires or thoughts of future or past seems to appear in it. Now you're beginning to look at everything as it is. And once again, as you see, again, not you, but what can I say, as this is seen, what is there to say? What is there to do? Simply be. Well, this is the inspiration that came through. I hope it served, and as always, may peace permeate the mind so that love can become evident.